going on, everybody? It's your boy Mayhem Madness, brought to you by WeAreCritics.com. And right now, I'm really excited. I got somebody that I looked to their comics when I was growing up. Somebody that we're gonna get. I can't even get my words together. How excited! I really can't even get my words together. How excited I am. We have right here Todd McFarlane. Todd, how you doing today?
Good. Thanks for giving me the time. How you been?
Good.
Right. Day one, you pace yourself at this convention because it's a 4-day marathon, right?
I know. I'm already overwhelmed.
I'm going to come check on you on Sunday, see how you're limping.
Okay. So, Batman and Spawn.
Yeah.
We have that coming out. I'm excited. I'm working
on it right now. Interviewing. I got a deadline. We got to get it done. Yeah.
I'm a huge Batman fan. I'm a huge Batman fan, and I'm a huge Spawn fan. So to see those two come together, I'm so excited for it. What made you want to put those two together?
Well, look, as a comic book collector myself, right? Especially when I was a kid, anything. I was a big fan of team-up books. Like team-up books, right? I remember I thought Marvel team up with Spider-Man and whoever that month he was with, I thought was super cool. They had another book that was called Marvel 2-in-1, which was the Thing with somebody every month.
Yeah, I remember those.
And then over on the DC side, they had The Brave and the Bold, and it was Batman and somebody else, right? And you got to see the two logos on the cover. I just thought it was cool, right? And I knew it was just for the 1 month, and then they'd be done. But I also collected at a time when there were like sort of event books come out and sort of fun moments that you just went, man, that was cool. I got to buy that book, and it came out, right? The first, and again, even sort of once I got into the business as a pro, and we did a Batman Spawn Batman years ago, but that was 25 years ago. I don't know how old you are, but like you weren't there for it, right? You look like you're young, so you weren't there for it maybe, or at least there's a whole generation of people that are 25 and younger that weren't there. So, but whatever that thrill was that I used to get as a kid, and whatever thrill people got when like Spawn 1 came out and Image started, or when, you know, The Dark Knight came out, or when Arkham Asylum came out, or whatever it was, right, that came out, that I was like, man, this is why it's fun being a comic book collector. Yeah. And one of them was the original Spawn Batman. Why don't we try and give that same emotion to people today? So let's do it again, right? Let's do it again. Let's get the rock band together. Let's put on a performance. All the people who never saw us before, come to the concert, and let's just have a good time. And people go, woo. So it's like, Dad, I get it. 25 years ago, you had to buy it. This is my chance to now buy it for myself. And I get to say I was there when it happened.
I cannot wait for it. I'm a huge, like I said, I'm a huge Batman and Spawn fan. But even as Spawn, I want to talk about the HBO special. I watch this thing at least once a week. I'm telling you, once a week I at least watch it.
How old were you? Because there's some naughty language.
Yeah. There was. I'm 36.
Okay.
So I remember my parents would go to sleep.
Yes.
And I would end up.
I've heard this story a million times. Let me just tell you.
My parents would go to sleep. I would sneak into the living room.
Yes.
I would turn the TV down low, and I would go on to HBO and I would watch it.
Yeah.
Even though I knew I wasn't supposed to, I loved the Spawn.
I remember I did the intro to those.
Yes.
And I was
the
like,
black suit on.
Yeah, and I was like, and turn off the lights.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And really that line was sincere, because I knew when we were developing it how much black we were going to have in it. And if you watch that show with the lights on, everything's bright, and then you got a little bit of black. But as soon as you sit in a room that's dark, sort of like in a theater, like going to movies, but you got everything's black, and then I knew we were going to have a lot of black in there. I just thought it would add to the mood of what you were watching, especially season 3. So to me, I was sincere in saying, no, it is midnight, by the way, but turn it off, because I think it the only light should be coming from this show, and don't get distracted by anything else, and it'd be way cooler, I think.
I think your intros on that were probably the coolest intros of any show. The intros were great.
My children recently found that intro on the internet, YouTube, and think that I'm like the dumbest guy ever. Like,
Oh,
Dad,
no.
what are you doing? What's that suit? You look like a
Listen,
mafia thug. What are you doing, you goof? So,
listen. This is me telling them
oh,
I'm 36, and he was not. He was the coolest guy. The coolest guy then. So with Spawn, you have the Spawn toys. The
Yep.
Marvel. I used to collect the old ones. I still have some of
the original ones.
the original ones. If you remember, you had the Spawn with the cape. It was like a plastic piece that when you press the button and it goes out.
Yeah. One.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still have
They
that.
folded up, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So with the new ones, I seen that you had the what was it, Omega? I got into the panel late, but it was Omega Spawn.
Yeah, that one
We
turned
have-
out. That one, it's interesting because every now and then you get a toy and you go, man, why can't they all kind of look like that, right? The face on that one turned out really good with the wash and the fade with the airbrush. Sometimes they can get a little bit heavy-handed. You know, the frustrating thing with toys is that it's a very inexact science, right? And you've got people making them literally one at a time. So sometimes you get good ones, sometimes you get bad ones. But I've seen a lot of the production run of the Omega Swan. It's obviously it's a bigger figure. It's in a bigger box. But I'm going, oh, that's what all my cool monsters are supposed to look like. But yeah, we're quite proud of that one. So I'm glad you sort of noticed that one.
Yeah, I really like that one. One of my favorite ones is is it the Samurai Spawn, the one with the Japanese Spawn. Yeah. I felt like
from years ago or no? Like
the new one, new one.
Okay.
I got the deluxe one that comes in the box with Mandarin Spawn. That one, was it hard to really get the look of that Spawn because it seems like really complicated?
No, we've been at it for long enough to know now that no matter how tight the detail is, if you dig it deep enough, it will hold up. And not only is detail kind of good to look at because it feels like there's a lot of value, it also allows you to have, if you're going to do a wash or a dry brush on your toy, it gives you edges to catch, which is why detail is important. It's why if you sort of notice on some of the DC Multiverse figures, we've added kind of some textures and some extra lines and stuff to it. I've asked Warner Brothers if we could do that because one, it just, I think, makes it not look like a big chunk of plastic. And two, when we actually go to do painting, there's a surface to grab, right? It's way harder to paint a smooth surface as compared to something that feels like it's like sandpaper, right? Sandpaper is going to catch your brush a lot better and give you, I think, a better effect. So sometimes we do it for art reasons, and other times we do it for technical reasons. But both of them, I think, have a value.
Any hopes of us seeing an Angela Angela in the Spawn line?
No, because years ago there was a lawsuit, and as part of the settlement, that I ended up getting Cagliostro and Medieval Spawn, and the other person ended up getting the Angela, and then they ended up selling Angela to Marvel. So Angela's over at Marvel right now. So if I ever do a Marvel figure, maybe I'll be able to eventually get there. But
that would have been perfect in the line of the Spawn toys. What about Jason Wynn?
Yes, Jason Wynn. Jason Wynn's on our side of the ledger, so I could do Jason Wynn. The only reason I don't do him because he's still just a dude in a black suit, and it's not very appealing, looking at him in a package. He recently has reemerged as this character called the Disruptor, and it's sort of got a little bit of a Doctor Doom vibe look to him. I think that's a way more superior, better looking toy, just visually, right? The Disruptor looks pretty cool, which is different than a dude in a three-piece suit, right? So never underestimate the visual impact of a toy in a package as people walk by and go, man, that's cool. I don't know who the character is, but that's cool. I might pick that one up. So.
All right. Last figure that I think that would be good. What about a Chapel?
Chapel again is not my character. Chapel was a character that Rob Liefeld, one of my original partners, created. And so he came in, and we were having some fun early with crossover and characters like that. But he's not a character I own, so I'd have to go back and ask permission from Rob to do that character. But it would be cool.
Really?
I mean, when I did Youngbloods, I did do a Chapel figure, right?
Okay. The old one.
The OG, way back,
Yeah.
right? So, but we haven't done an updated version of them since that very first one.
Okay.
So.
Also, with your DC multiverse line, it's another line that I love. I feel that people say, "Oh, it's another Batman," but like I said, Batman is one of my favorite superheroes. Since I can remember, since I was like 2 years old. All the Batman variations that keep on coming out, I love just putting them and displaying them all together. I think they look good. Can we see any more Batmans down the line, or any different variations of Batman?
Yeah. So let me see if I can sort of give a little bit of business 101 here. And I understand if people aren't a Batman fan or a Superman fan, they go, "Oh man, another Batman, another Superman." We try to make them as different as possible. So there's if you like Batman, you can have this really big collection of Batman figures. Oh, by the way, in the comic book, there are a ton of Batman figures right now that are in it. So we're just doing what's already in the comic book. On a national and then a global level, and don't forget the globe, right? There are people outside of sort of the walls of this convention and outside of this country who don't collect comic books, who don't know those iterations. What they do know is Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, Wonder Woman. They know the generic versions of those. And you have to have a certain amount of those. Even in America, you have to have a certain amount of those every 4 or 5 months so that people are seeing the Batman that they grew up with, that they know about. And then you augment it with some of the other characters that people want. Here's what I can tell you as a businessman, because I've been there before. If you exclude the stuff that is common, that everybody wants, that everybody already has, at the expense of doing something that's so specific that it fills in your category and your collection, eventually that line will not sell. And the retailers will stop buying it. And the moment they stop buying it, then even though I'm doing 2 or 3 figures in a line that you sort of roll your eyes at, you're still getting 3 or 4 that you want. And if I do all 6 of the ones that are just for us geeks, the sales aren't going to be there. They're not going to buy it. They won't get out onto the store. And I'm talking about the buyers at the big box stores. And then you'll get 0, right? So instead of worrying about whether all 6 of them are characters that you want, to some extent, because the way business works, be thankful that the 3 or 4 are there. And if I keep staying in business, then I can get to the 3 that I missed this time. I can get to them the next time, right? There's always a way to get to them, but you just have to be a little bit patient, and I can't do them all at once. And so it's the piece that people sometimes don't quite understand, the conversations I have to have with retailers behind closed doors, right? You may want Alfred toy. They want Batman toys because they know they sell Batman toys. So what I have to do is put enough Batman and then sneak Alfred in there so you can get what you want and the buyers get what they want, which is to have enough Batman for the moms and the kids for Christmas and birthdays and whatever sort of special celebration they're having. And you have to balance all that during the course of trying to be around for 20, 30 years like I have.
There's a character that I think the Detective Spawn that you did, and I was hoping that down the line that we could see him. I think it was Peacekeeper 003, I think it was.
Yeah, well, here's the thing about time. Eventually you get to all of them.
Yeah.
Right? And you just have to be a little patient, right, of getting there. And I know it can be frustrating because I'll probably die and not do a fraction of the DC Multiverse figures, right? So, or I probably won't even get to all my own Spawn figures.
You're putting out a good amount of figures,
right?
though,
But I also have to pay attention to that, because you don't want to put out so much that people just throw their hands up and go, I can't keep up with it.
I'll never be one of those people.
But the patience comes on a lot of different levels, right? I mean, we just was it yesterday announced the news of some big talent coming on the Spawn movie.
Yes.
That sort of blew up, news-wise on the internet. And again, if you ask me, would I like to see my Spawn movie made a couple of years ago? Of course, right? Probably most fans, Spawn movie fan. But because it takes a little bit longer, you end up getting these, A-list talent people out of Hollywood, and it helps the project get to the finish line of finding the right studio, getting the right budget, and telling a story that hopefully people will enjoy on a global basis. So the movie doesn't have to have and be accurate to the comic book, because 99.5% of the people, hopefully, that go and see this movie will have never read a single issue of Spawn, the comic book. So we can't be a slave to it. We have to basically say, what makes Spawn resonate with people? I think he's just a cool badass. And as long as we make him a cool badass in every iteration, whether it's video games, whether it's toys, whether it's comics, whether it's TV, whether it's movies, as long as we keep making badass, then we will be in good stead. So, right, we just brought on the Joker writer, Scott Silver, the Joker writer, on, and Malcolm Spellman, who's writing the upcoming Captain America 4, and had a hand in, Bel Air, Empire, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right? And then another great talent, Matt Mixon. So those talents wouldn't have been there to get if I had sort of insisted on doing something 2 years ago, right? So now we just keep adding to the talent pool from people who've done projects that people listening to our voice right now have heard and watched, right? I mean, look, when you start selling a movie called Spawn in Bosnia, they're not going to care about who Todd McFarlane is or my comic books. They're going to care that it's starring the guy who was in this movie, directed by the guy who did that movie, written by the people who did those movies, and from the creator of the guy who co-created Venom, because they went and saw that movie, right? And then if you cut a good trailer, then people will go, oh my gosh, I'll go and see that. But those are people that don't even know there's a Spawn comic book in existence yet, right? We still got to get those people to go to the movie. And so we're marching towards that goal of making a good international movie that we can all be proud of.
One quick question before. Will Spawn be more of an action movie, or more of a horror movie, or more of just like a supernatural thriller?
We're talking about all of it, so TBD, right? I mean, we got a team that's in the process of, sort of going through all of that, and then obviously the people that are going to be investing are going to have input on it. So right now, what we're all enjoying is just becoming the team, talking about the possibilities, and at some point formulating what that's going to be, so that we can get that up on the screen when as soon as possible for the fans, and when the story's right.
Thank you. Thank you, Todd. Thank you for that. This is a dream come true to me. Like I said, like when I got into action figure collecting, I must have been like 4 or 5 years ago. One of the people, like the first person I said, I'm going to sit down with Todd McFarlane and talk to him. I kept on saying it, and it finally happened. And I just want to thank you for giving me the time to sit down and talk with me.
Appreciate your time, appreciate your support, right, and getting the word out to all the fans. So, and I appreciate all the fan support, right. Every time somebody picks up one of my comics, one of my toys, I'm grateful, because it allows me to have a career, right. And so I never forget that without the fans and people like you who support, that I would just be in a basement self-indulging and nobody would know who I am. So it's worked out both ways. So if we do stuff that you enjoy, then that works out good. But you guys have given me a career. So